We got some unfortunate news to share with you all today. Gary, can you summarize it for these lovely people what we're going to talk about in today's video? Well, to start off, the raid that Capital Games was working on for months upon months upon months that they kept telling us they're working on has been canceled. No reworks for all those characters you're forced to gear up for the Galactic Legends characters. Mace Windu, we've been teased the rework for months upon months upon months, and it's not going to happen any time soon. Something's up at Capital Games. I don't know if maybe Galactic Legends changed the pace of what they wanted to do for Galaxyers, but it seems like a lot of stuff has been canceled and a lot of no's for a lot of things, such as live PvP, such as Sandbox. So we're going to be giving some criticism. We're going to be fact checking, and as well as kind of taking Capital Games' logic and applying it back and forth to their own answers in this Q&A post. But I will say there is a glimmer of hope for those of you out there. If you've been enjoying the Mandalorian characters coming to Galaxy of Heroes, Grief Karga's coming out, I'm pumped for that. Of course, Mando himself is coming out. It looks like there's a bigger future for these Mandalorian characters, which we will break down as well in this post. Although there's a lot of no's and sad news, there's also some good things to talk about. So let's get this party started. I don't want to read word by word every single little thing they did here because there's a lot of long-winded posts and kind of responses that don't really go anywhere. But I want to open up here with a live PvP. Now, there's a couple of core things that have been talked about endlessly in the community and apparently at Capital Games as well. Live PvP is one of them, and I'm going to cut them some slack on this one because I can understand some of the limitations with no live PvP here. We know Marvel Strike Force is integrating a live PvP as well as an inter-guild sandbox mode for people to have fun, play around beyond the typical avenues of the game. I know Cubs Han talks about Disney Sorcerer's Arena has a live PvP, but I think live PvP is awesome. I'm a big fan of live PvP. I play other games like Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links that have a live PvP system. It is definitely manageable for a mobile game. There's many other games out there that do that, Clash Royale, yada, yada, yada. But I understand the limitations for this game because there are mods. Mods are the biggest factor that probably would make, that would be my response. If I was a developer, I would say, well, because the mods are probably not going to add live PvP, of course, they can just omit mods and live PvP. But the reason why people can win against better teams, of better gear and better mods, sometimes it's just because the AI defense is so bad. So you can kind of use the bad characters, or not bad characters, but characters with lesser mods and gear to beat other ones. That's not the response they're giving here. Basically, the main overall response right here is that they're looking for areas for everyone to play beyond the hardcore PvPers. And this term of hardcore PvPers is going to stem to their sandbox mode question. So basically, they're saying, though, that live PvP isn't going to cater to a big enough audience. They think only a minority hardcore PvPers are going to enjoy it. Maybe that's the case, but the problem is, as we're going to see now, in their sandbox mode question, that's going to kind of stem the sandbox mode because they're looking at the issues separately. You could definitely bring the issues together in terms of one game mode. But now when it comes to their sandbox mode conversation, this I will read a little bit more in depth because I'm a bit frustrated with the response right here, because the logic they apply here, they do the reverse logic for in other areas, such as their artwork. We're going to talk extensively at the end about artwork in Galaxy Heroes. We did a video a while ago that blew people's minds in regards to the artwork compared to other similar competing games like Marvel Strike Force, Raid Shadow Legends. So they kind of do the inverse over there. We'll get there in a moment. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But in regards to the sandbox mode, the main they look at sandbox mode in two different modes. One, there's a tremendous amount of UI work that could go into a sandbox mode in terms of endless sandbox, where you can do anything you want. And when you start to think about all the different permutations that players would want to be able to try out, picking units, setting ability levels, setting mods, and even event creatures, it's very expensive. Well, first off, your game is very expensive to play. So they're throwing a lot of terms like it's not free to make, it's too expensive. Well, a lot of people pay a lot of money to play this game. So I think that's not a good term to be throwing around out there. Now, I understand not adding that type of sandbox mode where you can do anything you want. You could be a level 1 player playing around of level 85, maxed out Galactic Legends rate. I understand why you might want to do that. One, I know you guys don't want to say it explicitly, but you're basically, that would give out characters for free, and that defeats the point of you selling characters if there's a sandbox mode that would let you have access to a maxed out character. I get that. You're kind of beat around the bush there. This one, though, I don't like the reason. So now some players have pointed out that they'd like to just be able to battle their buddies and whatever their lineup is. Yes, that's what I would like to see. That is a little bit more feasible, but still not free. I'm not even going to talk about the conversation of free. And coupled with two, there's nothing that we've seen that indicates that this would be a high engagement feature. And this, I'm assuming, is the same data they're talking about in regards to live PvP. They think that it's not going to appeal to a big audience, have a live PvP, or in this situation, Sandbox Mode. Their data is, in the past, we released some events that are unbounded play, and in general, we see people's participation fall pretty quickly. I don't know what data they're looking at. I'm assuming maybe Journey Guide. The Journey Guide, you can play legendary events over and over again. That's not the type of game modes to probably pull data on in terms of bettering your PvP skills, bettering your counters to a variety of things. I think they're looking at the wrong data. We've never had a game mode like that, like what we're asking for, where you can bring in a Commander Luke team and battle a General Skywalker team over and over and over and over and over again without crisp refreshes, timers, so you can get better. I don't know what data they're pulling from. The data they're probably pulling from are just game modes that are not apples to apples of what we're seeking. So that's probably not good data to draw from. But furthermore, the thing that irritates me the most, there are definitely hardcore players that we think would engage this feature. Yes, there's no disputing that, but we believe it's a relatively small group. So the calculation they basically say is small group like ye, we know do we. And keep that logic in mind, because they do the exact opposite logic when it comes to making the game look prettier and compared to their other competitors out there. But they're saying it's so expensive, it's so difficult. All they have to do, what I would like to see, the other day we did Cara Dune testing. There's a card in the top right hand corner. We had fun. We go into squad arena. Thank goodness I got amazing shard mates such as Donima, Iron Dingo, Commander Cody. They're kind enough to switch out their arena teams so I can test out Cara Dune, so people can watch, learn how a character is, learn how good they are, and decide if they're going to farm this character free to play, spend some money. Without the help of helpful shard mates, that would not be possible, because in arena you only have Galactic Legends, General Skywalker. Not every single character is meant to beat those type of characters. So if it wasn't for that, I'd literally buy a character and spin it on my phone, which I was doing yesterday because there was nothing else to do beyond arena. So all they have to do, if they want to make a sandbox mode, do it Marvel Strike Force thing. Maybe not do the live PvP thing, fine. All they have to do, I think, for a sandbox mode is literally copy their squad arena format in terms of how you find people to battle, and then just populate it with people in your guild. I think that at the minimum, that would be great. I don't think it would be expensive. I understand it's not free, but I'm sure they can find the time to just literally copy and paste how squad arena works, and instead of populating it globally or however the arena shards work, just populate it with the people in your guild. I think that would probably be the easiest, quickest solution for people to test out characters, test out counters. Because let me tell you, I buy characters so I can make videos on and show you guys what they're like. But for the average person, why buy Cara Dune when she's just going to sit in your roster? What are you going to do? Play Galactic War? Maybe use her in Grand Arena, play her 20 minutes of Grand Arena every 2 days or whatever it is, and then we have to wait a couple weeks for another Grand Arena to kick off again. I think they can definitely make a sandbox mode. Do what I just said there. Inter-guild sandbox mode, populate it with them. We're not asking for you to let us play as the Rika Nexu and giving everyone Galactic Legends Ray. I think that's probably the easiest solution there to at least get a sandbox mode, live PvP. I understand the shortcomings of that. So let's I'm gonna hold on to that thought before we move on here to other topics here. So let's talk about the raid. We've been explicitly told for months upon months upon months that they're working on a raid. When there's nothing going on in Galaxy of Heroes, they're spending months working on a Galactic Legends event that seemed a bit half-baked, which, by the way, they said that in the future for Tier 3, they're looking at the feedback, they're enjoying the feedback, and that when they're doing Galactic Legends in the future, it's most likely not going to be a copy and paste of what we saw in Tier 3 of Galactic Legends Ray and Kyle. So that's good. I'm glad they're looking at the feedback. That's really important. Hopefully they take some of my feedback that I gave them. But during all this time, they've been talking about a raid, and it's been canceled. They're not working on the raid anymore. We were doing initial development on one last year, but we paused work on it for the moment. So maybe they'll pick it up again, hopefully in the future. But here's the bright side of things. They're working on something that we think will have a wider impact on the overall player base that we'll discuss in detail next month's road ahead. So there is something coming that's gonna have a wider impact. Now, I feel like raids already have a good wide impact because there's various tiers. Maybe not as wide of an impact as Grand Arena. Let me tell you, Grand Arena is the best thing about Galaxy Heroes in terms of a wide impact, because as long as you're level 85, there's a bracket free to play in with people more or less kind of in your position, and the rewards are pretty similar. The bad thing about the raid is that the main problem is that you're not getting the same rewards. If you want to get like Trey or Han Solo or Kenobi, you got to do the heroic tier. So I can kind of maybe understand what they're getting at here. I wonder what they're working on. We can speculate all we want, but all we know is that they are working on something else instead, and we're going to get more information in the future and next month with the road ahead. It's just this whole forum post seemed like a lot of stuff was canceled, because now we move on to the topic, oh boy, of Mace Windu. We were teased about it last year. I believe it was on the Galactic War podcast. It may have been the Escape podcast. but they had the developers on there, and they talked a little bit about Mace Windu. Originally, he was supposed to get reworked last year when we were getting all this Clone Wars love, but they ran out of time, and they didn't want to half-bake Mace Windu's rework, which I appreciate because they had to start going to sequel content. Well, we were kind of being teased in that podcast. You guys may have seen the video where they kind of they tease verbally like, I wonder if there's going to be a Clone Wars TV show coming up soon. Maybe, you know, so they were kind of teasing at it. Not going to happen. And people are getting Ki-Adi-Mundi. And speaking of Ki-Adi-Mundi, aside from Mace Windu not getting a rework, it seems like it's in the card still. They say they hope to circle back to him at some point. So it's in the card. There's going to be some sort of rework for Mace Windu in the works at some point down the line. When it's going to happen, it's going to be kind of hard to say. It's going to be kind of hard to say when it's going to happen, but it's in the cards. Mace Windu is definitely a highly desirable character that needs to get reworked, but alongside him, it seems like there's no Galactic Republic Jedi reworks that are going to be happening with the dated kits like Mace Windu. None at this time, unfortunately, but they hope to circle back at them at some point. Galactic Republic Jedi, we've been going on and on about this. We were kind of presuming it was going to happen around this time because they were teasing that there's some stuff that's going to happen when Clone Wars kicks back up. I think they've been canceling their plans. We saw this with the raid. We see that maybe they're forcing Mandalorian to come a little bit earlier, which I'm not going to complain about that. I really love the Mandalorian, so it's great seeing that get pushed ahead, it seems like. But Ki-Adi-Mundi, people are getting Ki-Adi-Mundi. I have him, I could unlock him right now, but I won't because there's nothing to do with him. So unfortunately, things that the community wants, the Sandbox Mode, live PvP, Mace Windu rework, Galactic Republic Jedi reworks, canceled / not happening / it's being stalled out. So that's a little bit unfortunate. In regards to other things here, you know how you guys are forced to gear up Rose or Phasma. Oh, and you were able to use them in the event, but you don't want to use them in the event because you wouldn't be in a good spot. So they make you gear up Rose Tico, and there's nothing that you can, you don't want to use those characters. So we were hoping that they were going to rework those characters, but alas, when it comes to the Galactic Legends characters that are older, will they get a rework or touch up? For example, Rose or Phasma. There are no reworks or touch up planned at the moment. Also on our list to circle back to. Now I don't know if they're talking specifically about Galactic Legends characters. They're not getting reworks anytime soon. They want to give them reworks sometime soon, or they talk about no reworks in general of any type or faction are getting reworks or touch ups anytime soon. All right, if they're talking about in general, that's a bummer because I was really hoping for some. They're talking about doing some Empire Strikes Back next month. A lot of people are hoping for like Rolo, some Trooper stuff getting reworked, maybe Darth Vader. I'm hoping they're just talking about Galactic Legends Rey and Kylo characters not getting reworked because no reworks in general for in the foreseeable future. That's a bummer. That's a huge bummer right there. So that leaves me a little bit concerned. But I guess maybe we're looking too much into it. But at least we know specifically Rose and Phasma are not going to get reworks at the moment. Moving on here, there's a lot of things that kind of repeat itself over and over again. Let's just kind of pick out a couple more things. Grief Karga. There's some hope. If you love the Mandalorian and hoping there's a bigger future, we're speculating that we're building up to the child, a legendary event or something like that. I only want to talk about Grief Karga for a moment because they talk. Someone asked, why isn't he a neutral character? Why is he branded as a light side character in the game? And basically they said his kid takes inspiration from all the chapters of the Mandalorian that he appears in. So we decided that his alignment should be lined up with what he displayed in the final chapter of the season for the sake of capturing the whole of the character and the part I want to point out and looking at where we'll use him in the future. So it looks like there's a bigger future ahead for the Mandalorian characters, or maybe it's just Grief Karga that has a bigger future. Maybe there's some bounty hunter stuff in the future, but I'm thinking they're talking about the future of the Mandalorian in Galaxy of Heroes. We've been speculating that we're probably building up to the Child Legendary event. Maybe that's what they're talking to. So I kind of want to bring those little snippets of hope that there's some sort of big game mode being announced next month in May for the road ahead. And it looks like Mandalorian, whatever they're doing for this, the whole the series, it's gonna have a bigger part in Galaxy of Heroes moving forward. Beyond this, there's some other things that are going on here. For example, they're not retuning light side territorial difficulty. They said, we're sorry if you're not enjoying it, but we like where the difficulty's at right now. They said that they're not adding a Mandalorian text. I think it's a little bit too confusing. Doesn't mean you align with the creed. Were you from Mandalore? Are you part of the Mandalorian TV series? So they're not going to be adding a Mandalorian tag anytime soon. We get some other repeat questions like, are we getting 4.mods to slice to 5.mods? They're not doing that. The last thing I want to talk about that I think is of importance. There's a lot of other stuff. Feel free to check it out. I'll leave a link down below in the video description if you want to read every single little thing by yourself. The last thing I want to point out that kind of irked me a little bit is in regards to their art. Now, I know this game can be a lot prettier than it is. They basically confirmed their game could look so much better, but I want to read their logic here. So someone brought up the question, why does Rey look like a potato, basically? And we had a producer, not producer, one of the designers come out and say that they increased their poly count recently, but their direct competitors, I have a feeling the video we made a while ago probably kind of got them sparked up a little bit because I showed them directly what other competitors look like. I'll show it again in a moment here, but their direct competitors use 3 times the amount of polys that our new models do. That's why you see Raid Shadow Legends, Marvel Strike Force look so crisp. But why won't they add their higher poly counts to Galaxy of Heroes? They're saying it comes down to a decision they made a long time ago that Galaxy of Heroes should be playable on a very wide variety of devices. Is that true? We're going to fact check that in a moment here. The more we push into higher poly count, the more we exclude some Star Wars fans. It's a delicate balance, and we err towards letting more players play. They're kind of building up their size. Kind of seems like a little bit of a straw man right now. Well, we're going to fact check that in a moment, but I want to put this out there. They said they basically could make their game look a lot prettier. If you like how Raid looks and Marvel Strike Force works, they definitely could do it. The characters you see in the trailers, for example, they designed those characters, and then they're uncompressed in those trailers, but then they compress them severely when they put them in game. I have a solution for that if they think that they want to keep the impact on mobile devices low, but they say right here that basically they could add those higher poly counts to Galaxy of Heroes. But do they actually support more devices? Well, I did a little bit of researching. In the iOS store, you need at least iOS 10 to play Galaxy of Heroes. Gary, can you go ahead and show these lovely people right here what we're looking at? Beautiful. Now, what does Marvel Strike Force do? What does Marvel Strike Force need? Well, they need iOS 10. So in terms of iOS support, Marvel Strike Force and Galaxy of Heroes support the same exact base, and Marvel Strike Force looks miles upon miles better animations, better character designs, better just higher poly counts, whatever it is. And Raid Shadow Legends for iOS supports more iOS devices than Capital Games. They only require iOS 9.0, which I believe is really only adding the iPhone 4S. I believe the iPhone 4S got cut off for iOS 10. I used to work at Apple, long story short. And so Raid Shadow Legends wins the topic of supporting more iOS devices. Now, I will be honest, I'm not the biggest Android elitist. I don't quite understand the difference between Android 4.1, but Galaxy of Heroes supports Android 4.1 and up. Marvel Strike Force supports 4.4 and up. So I don't know what how big of a difference 4.1 is to 4.4, but I assume it's a very small minority of players that are playing Galaxy of Heroes. So Galaxy of Heroes supports more Android players than Marvel Strike Force. Hypothetically speaking, I suppose maybe 4.4 people could get the, or 4.1 could get the 4.4. I don't know the Android specifics. Raid Shadow Legends supports 5.0 and up. So again, I don't know the difference between 4.1, 4.4, and 5.0. Maybe 4.1 could easily get the 5.0. I don't know the case because there's so many Android devices out there. So it depends what's going on here in terms of the number of Android players that Capital Games wants to support. But I'm guessing, I'm going to make an assumption here, that people between 4.1 and 4.4 are a very small minority in Galaxy of Heroes. But we just heard a moment ago that Capital Games doesn't want to do something for the minority, i.e. they don't want to add a sandbox mode. They don't want to add a live PvP because only a minority of players will want it. But they're more than happy to stop the game from looking pretty because of probably a very small minority of Android mobile device users. Well, what's the compromise here? What can we do? Because let me tell you, there's one thing that will stop people from complaining about their art for all of eternity, and that's this right here. First off, Raid Shadow Legends. There's a video a while ago that blew people's minds. Can we show them real quick? There's a video people don't look beyond Galaxy of Heroes. I compared Galaxy of Heroes to Raid Shadow Legends to Marvel Strike Force. Huge difference. People's minds were absolutely blown. But I think the thing that they could easily do for Galaxy of Heroes is either one, for mobile device users, I know Raid Shadow Legends does this, there's settings that you can go in to your game and toggle. You can do low, medium, high, ultra settings. You can toggle the frame rates, toggle the resolution. These settings are also available on the mobile device of Raid Shadow Legends. I don't know, I can't remember if Marvel Strike Force does it, but what they also could do, they could keep their low quality on mobile devices, but release a desktop version of the game. Raid Shadow Legends, they have their own PC desktop app store, and that way they can upload their highest quality files, and then the people on their PC can also toggle the settings just as well as their mobile devices. So point being, Capital Games has access to a big store already, the Origin store. We have the Origin desktop app where you play Battlefront 2, for example. All they probably have to do is say, hey, EA, we want to create a Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes version for desktop players. And besides the fact that they could upload higher quality characters and images, give you those trailer looking like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes characters, I'm sure Capital Games would make so much more money, because now when people buy stuff in game on the Origin store, Google and Apple aren't going to get a cut of the pie, because right now when you buy something on your iOS or Android device, Apple and Google are getting a cut. So does Capital Games support more players on mobile devices? I don't know. For sure, they're not supporting more iOS players than Marvel Strike Force or Raid Shadow Legends. Maybe there's a bigger group of people between 4.1 and 4.4 Android that makes it worthy, not increasing the graphical quality. The point being, we're just kind of doing a little bit of fact checking. I don't think Capital Games is really, I think they're just making some excuses, because the people are going to spend money on a low quality looking game. Why make the game look better? You guys tell me down below. Longer video than usual today. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Like if you did enjoy the video, comment down below and all your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And I'll see all you lovely people in the next video. Peace out, everyone. Gary, hit it. Hit it. Gary. Thank you.